Maybe you're seeking answers, support for undiagnosed autism or unmet educational needs, but instead you're met with judgment. Perhaps your child's been labelled as disrespectful or attention-seeking, but what if their behaviour was really a sign of overwhelm, anxiety or sensory overload? But what if your child lashes out or shuts down, not out of defiance, but because they were struggling and don't know how to ask for help, and yet their challenges are brushed off as poor parenting or a lack of discipline? Sound familiar? You're not alone. So in this video, I'll explore how parent blaming can get in the way of real support for children in receipt of special educational needs. I will share examples to show why parent blaming happens, with the aim to help gain clarity and confidence to go on to advocate for our children in predicaments like these. My name is Brenda and I'm a parent mentor and a fellow parent. I support parents raising children with individual needs and differences to stay empowered whilst they navigate through procedural challenges. And the idea for this video came to me as I was listening to a podcast/video titled "I Quit Teaching Special Ed, Dangerous Students, No Consequences, Unrealistic Expectations and No Help," where a certified special educational needs teacher shared her thoughts of how she deemed teaching special educational needs students as dangerous. And the discussion actually gave me food for thought for this video to illustrate how parent blaming actually happens. And I've left a link for that video in the description, so why not check it out? Because I don't know about you, because as a parent raising a young person living with autism and ADHD, I've definitely heard comments that are very similar to what was shared in that podcast. And that's why I feel it's really important to have that clarity to recognise what the real challenges are versus what they are not, as understanding how these barriers show up is the first step to breaking them down. And one of these communicative barriers that show up that was also mentioned in the podcast was blaming academic struggles on parenting, not unmet needs. Comments such as, the academic struggles of undiagnosed children are not due to unmet needs, but the lack of discipline at home. If an educator attributes a child's struggles to parental failure or personal behaviour, it ignores that the child may be undiagnosed, unsupported or overwhelmed due to unmet educational needs. Academic struggles may look like a child's behaviour stemming from frustration or difficulty understanding expectations, reflecting unmet needs or challenges with emotional regulation rather than intentional defiance. Their response in the classroom could indicate struggles with processing or expressing emotions in a safe way. And when parents are blamed, it creates a barrier to accessing the support that the child will need, and it can leave parents feeling powerless and questioning how blame for a lack of discipline holds any weight in the situation. It's in those moments where it's crucial to advocate for a child's true needs and not based on misinterpretations of their behaviour, because as parents it's really important to be able to feel confident in taking action that ensure that our children's education is supportive and empowering for them. Another communicative barrier that shows up is when an educator is minimising their role and responsibility. Comments such as, "These challenges are outside of my responsibility. I'm not a psychologist or a social worker. I didn't create these problems." As a parent, you would hope that if a child disengages from their learning and projects their concerns, you would hope that it wouldn't be seen as proof that they can't be taught due to misbehaviour. Instead, you would hope that it would be recognised that that child is struggling and in need of support. I mean, I don't know about you, but expecting them to cope or figure it out on their own simply isn't an option. I recognise that when an educator distances themselves from systematic responsibility, placing blame solely on the child or family, it blocks meaningful reflection. This mindset prevents them from seeing the deeper challenges that the child may be facing, which could indicate the need for additional support or more inclusive practices to help the child re-engage when they're ready. And as parents, if this is left unchallenged, these assumptions can become reasons not to initiate referrals for an assessment, potentially preventing a child from accessing the support of perhaps an EHCP. And that's why it's so important for us as parents to stay empowered, because when we feel more confident in our role, we can use our voice to influence the process and help ensure that decisions made truly meet our children's progress and their future. Another communicative barrier could be dismissing disability as a factor. Comments such as, "These kids with these bad behaviours have nothing to do with a disability." I recognise that when an educator assumes that all challenging behaviour is either intentional or due to bad parenting, they overlook the possibility that these could be signs of an underlying condition, as these perspectives block access to supportive strategies a child may need to manage internal or external struggles such as stress, confusion, or sensory overload. And without this support, a child is more likely to feel overwhelmed or unsure how to cope, which can be mistaken refusal to engage rather than an underlying condition. This can actually happen prior to a diagnosis as well as post-diagnosis. And given the long waiting list and waiting delays, as I've mentioned in a few other videos, timely support can make all the difference as to whether a child's needs are recognised or overlooked. And that's why it's so important for parents to feel confident in navigating setbacks and challenges and delays in the system. Because when a child's behaviour is blamed without considering the possibility of an underlying diagnosis, in some cases it can lead to punishment instead of support. This not only leaves the root causes unaddressed, but also risks worsening the situation over time. Another communicative barrier can be blaming the family entirely. Comments such as, "It's the parents' fault, they just weren't there for them." Statements like this reflect the misguided belief that a child's challenges are entirely as a result of family issues, ignoring the broader factors at play. Because if allowed, such blame will definitely leave us feeling completely disempowered. Because the practice of parent blaming when it comes to children in receipt of special educational needs or seeking special educational needs is deeply hurtful and also unhelpful. It obscures the real challenges that our children face, preventing them from actually receiving appropriate support. Rather than attributing a child's struggles to poor parenting or misbehaviour, will only benefit a child if there was recognition that these issues often stem from unmet educational needs, and from shifting the narrative from blame to understanding by ensuring that our children's voices are heard and represented and their challenges are met with empathy and not judgment. And this is the only way where we can break down those communicative barriers and build towards better outcomes and possibilities for our children moving forward. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. What did you like? What would you like to hear next? Or if you're navigating special educational needs processes and procedures and looking for ways to stay empowered, why not check out this playlist? Or if you're looking to work with a mentor, why not contact me? My details are in the description below. But for now, keep doing what you're doing, stay focused, stay empowered, and keep creating progress. Thank you for listening.